There are fewer than 30 men in the world qualified to drive Formula One. A mere half dozen, perhaps, to win. At this moment, I'm inclined to think you're not one of them.
You know you want to. Keep up the good work, and there you have it. There you go.
Welcome to F1Weekly.com. My name is Clark Rogers. I'm the host of the program. I'll be joined by NASIR Hamid, my co-host. This is podcast number 990, May 1st, 2023. NASIR.
Thank you, sir. Today we have a max serving of menudo by Checo. Oh, what a feeling for Toyota at Spa. Arabian conquest in Austria. We shall explain gladly. Back to you, El Jefe.
Thank you, NASIR. On today's program, the host returns from Half Moon Bay. Nick DeFries, you're fired. Max graduates from anger management school. Two old goats looking for some fun against the young drivers. Boy, Hamilton and Fernando, the old geezers out there. It was pretty fun to watch. And of course, Perez could be the greatest street circuit racer ever. And this week's interview, folks, is Myles Rowe of USF Pro 2000 driver and winner. And, of course, we have to mention we need your contributions to keep this program up on the servers. Just click on the Support F1 Weekly tab. You know you want to. Nas, welcome to the studio. How are you?
Mr. Rogers, I'm actually suffering from Delta Dawn. My flight from Atlanta last night got delayed, and I did not get home till after 2 a.m. in the morning, and 8 o'clock I had to work for living. But good thing is Mondays I work from home, so there was some, let's just say, peace in our lifetime. But sir, the weekend was simple. 1 hour flight to Atlanta, 2 hour drive to Birmingham, and you are in beautiful Barber Motorsports Park, and that's what I did. And what a weekend of motorsports we had, because flight delayed or no flight or banana boat, motorsports is priority number one. From Sweet Home, Alabama to the land of fire that is Azerbaijan. I hope Neil Young doesn't bother people in Baku like he did in Muscle Shoals. Now, did you celebrate the return of Formula One with Azeri shashlik, or was it falafel with foie gras?
It was indeed falafel. It was wonderful. A little yogurt and a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer.
And I have to ask you, man, I was watching this race, what was it, like 6 o'clock Alabama time, and when these ladies were doing the national anthem, I was thinking that, this is not up to Mr. Clark's taste, because your taste was that what you call hot chica who did the Austrian national anthem a few years ago.
That's very true, but I did like it. I liked their outfits and how they looked like statues at first, and then they whipped their dresses around, and then they were green and colorful. I thought it was great. Very interesting.
Yeah, nice national anthem they have, so I also enjoyed that. But sir, as far as the race is concerned, when the main talking point about the race, no matter what podcast or what report you listen to or read, is the pit stop by a driver who was not even the top 5 on the final lap. You know, the race was not Dijon-Prenois 1979 or Monza 1971.
This is incredible. The twin-turbo Renaults appeared at Monaco, not their circuit. And now we're into the start of the 79th and last lap but one, with René Arnoux second and Villeneuve go. Incredible!
And I was thinking if only Mr. Rogers had copyrighted the word stinko, you would be in the same league as Lawrence Stroll, because stinko is the most common word being used to describe this year's Azerbaijan Grand Prix on the interweb. But then again, every Grand Prix cannot be a thriller in Manila or a thriller a la Massey. Your take on the race?
Max Verstappen calling Prince George a dickhead. It would have been a complete waste of a weekend.
Well, that was in simple English. And thank you for such eloquent language. But apparently in the Dutch media, he referred to Russell as Princess George. So different strokes for different folks. So let's take a quick look at Collie. We have a pulse on the prancing horse. Leclerc surprised everyone by taking his third consecutive pole position in the streets of Baku. Now, when he took that pole position, sir, with authority, did you believe that he will go and win the Grand Prix? Seriously?
No. And what's hilarious is when Leclerc takes a pole, Red Bull, they just really don't care. Because it's just like a fly that you have to swat away, while you're eating your meal. Both Red Bulls have to pass them within a few laps. That's all. I mean, it's the full domination is right there. But you got to give it to Leclerc. He is the pole specialist.
Yes, he is very quick on a one-lapper. Now, sharing the front row with Max is never a dull moment. Both number twos were in row number 2, Checo faster than Carlito. Now, row 3 was all peaches and herb, reunited and feels so good. 7-time world champion with his 2007 teammate. Who could that be? LCH outqualified George Russell for the first time this year, so that was quite an achievement for the Hemi fan club. Fernando Alonso was 6th, and this was his worst qualifying of the year, so he's come a long way. Both McLarens made it to Q3, and so did Potty Mouth, aka Yuki Tsunoda, and Alonso's teammate, the Maple Leaf Machismo. Now, interestingly, Red Bull has never taken pole in Baku, and Ferrari remains winless in Azerbaijan. Sprint race. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Well, I just want to mention your remark on Fernando's 6th. Well, 6th is pretty good if your DRS is not functioning properly. So he was, and so was Lance Stroll. Their DRS had issues. So the Machismo did pretty good. And, I like Machismo with the GOAT. You could imagine what these guys, if these guys were in a movie, it'd be exciting. I mean, there's so much history in Machismo-ness. So, I don't know. I think we're lucky to have Fernando and LCH still in Formula One. I think it's good for the young kids to see the elderly behaving well and driving well.
Man, it only seems like yesterday when Lewis would be on podium after podium in 2007, and when Mr. Alonso in 2005, he would win races, and he would make different kinds of gestures and stuff like that. It's amazing these two guys are now the senior citizens of Formula One. But that's the way it goes, Pretty soon we'll be talking like this about Max after he has won, 8 or 9 championships. So, time keeps flying and we just have to enjoy. And, oh, by the way, time keeps flying. We're in the 990 now. So we are on the home stretch to hit 1,000 podcasts, which would be quite an achievement. So we'll see how that works. And then we need a succession plan. Obviously we're not going to be around to do the podcast number 2000. So we'll have to look for whippersnappers who can be next podcasters.
Are you trying to tell me that I need to start using Indeed?
Indeed or thingamajob.com, whatever or Kelly Girl. We need to get PC also, Let's call Kelly Girl and get some, oh my God, the race was awesome. That would be pretty good.
I'm not sure about that one, NASIR, but I'll put the sign out front.
Yes. Help wanted. Inquire within.
See.
Yes, that's good. I think we should get back on the track. Sprint race. Did you like that, sir?
Of course, everybody had to watch it. The only thing I couldn't watch was the qualifying for the sprint race, which, I have to admit, folks, I got a little confused, and I looked, and so there was a shootout qualifying, I think like at 1 a.m. for the sprint race, but the regular qualifying, I'm telling you, even Max was confused. He was going, all these qualifyings. Max is not too happy about all this stuff now, sir.
Well, you and Max were not the only ones. I was also confused. I thought I'm watching some sprint shootout for 15 minutes, and then next thing you know, it's Q2 and a Q3 eliminate, back to normal stuff. I mean, this is getting too complicated for my taste, especially in my AARP days. They need to, and Max is right, everybody has an opinion, but they need to simplify things. I don't know what they are chasing. I mean, Formula One is a great show, and I know things have to change, but we're getting too many changes here. I mean, we saw what happened in the pit lane at the end, but we'll come to that later. But anyway, Checo, this was my first indication. Checo passing Leclerc to take the lead was all the MCI proof positive I needed to realize Ferrari will not be ringing winning bells in Baku or in Maranello. Max had a little argy-bargy and damage after a love tap with the Mercedes of Russell, and as I mentioned, apparently he called him Princess George when speaking to the Dutch media. But Russell has taken a high road on this. He's not getting into a pissing contest. We don't need that at this level of motorsports. And, like you said, sprint action is not going down with some drivers and fans. And I will not be surprised if there's a lot of hoo-hoo, ha-ha from fans and broadcasters that things are getting complicated, that they drop these sprint races. But they have their own agenda. Cash is king. So we'll see how it works out. Are you enjoying sprint races?
I can't stand it. I don't understand it, and I'm in complete agreement with Max. People don't need competition for all 3 days. The big competition we know is the Grand Prix on Sunday. Qualifying is exciting, and for fans, I loved watching practice and hearing the sounds and seeing the action. But for me, I think Max is right. It takes away from Le Grand Prix, the big prize, and it sort of dilutes it. We had 2 qualifyings, we had 2 races, 1 practice. I think you're right. I think they are going overboard. And I remember when I was a young man in art class, and apparently my teacher was very happy with my work. And one day I was so happy that she loved it, and I was looking at it, and I thought, maybe I can add one more thing to make it better, which I did. And sure enough, she looked at me and said, "Sonny, you blew it. It was perfect. And now you added that, and now it's stinko."
Ah, that's how you got the word stinko.
Yep, she was from Texas.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay, so now moving on to main feature on Sunday. 4 races, 4 wins for Red Bull. That is not surprising. What is surprising is the score between the 2 drivers. Lord and High Mighty, Max 2 wins. Wing Ombre, Checo 2 wins. Sergio Perez had a Wrigley's moment, double the pleasure. Could the 2023 season be his Rosberg 2016 season? Time will tell. Now, I think Max is still the man who will win the championship, but things can happen. What circumstances do you see where Checo, who feels he can win the championship, and I wish him all the best, do you feel he can win the championship this year, and what will it take?
Okay, so first of all, I don't know how everybody interpreted what happened in Azerbaijan, but Max doesn't usually take finishing second very, very well. And his father takes it even worse. So luckily, and I thought for sure that somebody would have a cardboard cutout of Josh Verstappen with his face frowning while Checo was celebrating, but apparently they told Josh to stay home. Now, Max, I thought, handled it very well. He was very cheerful, blamed the safety car, but, that's life. We get good points. I'm cool, man. Checo can win sometimes. I was very impressed with his demeanor. You could tell that he's been spoken to and taught proper manners. But the problem is, I don't think Dr. Marco, Christian Horner are behind a Checo championship. I don't see that happening because this is really the Max team. So it's going to get a little tense pretty soon at Red Bull, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, the last thing these two drivers want is to take the championship to the last race, and we all know now how that can turn out. So Max has what it takes to win the championship. It will be great for sport, it will be great for Latin America, it will be great for Mexico if Checo wins the World Championship, and I will be very happy if he can pull it off. But it's good that that he is giving. What was interesting? Max was leading. Sergio Perez had caught up to him. He was right behind him, and it was only a matter of time that he would have passed him if there was no caution using the DRS thing. So this guy is very determined. I think this is probably his best chance to win the World Championship. So let's see how this thing pans out. But the real feel-good story was poleman Charles Leclerc was able to provide first podium of the season to the prancing horse. So here we have two teams that fought for the championship last year, at least in the first half. One of them has won all four races, and one of them has just gotten one first podium of the season between two cars. So there is a huge difference now between these two teams. It was pretty obvious before the start Red Bull will win the race, if not on the track, most likely in the pit lane. With the pace they have from GP2 engine and fully charged and pistol-packing pilots, not one but two, the 2023 season is their show. It only took 3 laps before Max sailed past Leclerc, and people are saying that he passed, the speed difference was like 30 kilometers, which is like 18 miles per hour or something close to it. Now your man LCH was showing some pace, but since Lady Luck has changed partners, like Kelly Piquet, his pit stop on lap 11 just before the safety car was deployed, when Mr. Nick de Vries went into the BAKU wall of voodoo, and you said Nick de Vries is fired. Do you think that Tex is coming before the summer break?
I don't know, but he's the biggest disappointment for me on the grid right now. I mean, after that drive at Williams last year to get signed, and to think that all of a sudden this is the super talent and we should all be watching, has completely faded and evaporated from the earth. I mean, I am totally blown away from this guy. Lots of mistakes. It's almost like he should be in a GP2 car.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you, because that Williams performance was very, very impressive. We all know how much talent, how much pressure there is in Formula One, and you get into a Williams of all the team. It's not like he drove a Red Bull and then he gets a point. And I was convinced, and I'm wrong, not for the first time, that he will blow away Yuki Tsunoda, because Yuki Tsunoda is not even a serious driver, or somebody who does not have a serious mindset, So I thought this guy will blow him away. But people are already talking about that he's going to go chop. One thing I do know for a fact, and Red Bull has been running into this problem, if Liam Lawson wins the Japanese Super Formula Series, then Nick de Vries is chop. Now, if Liam fumbles in Japan and Nick de Vries can salvage a season, then we will see. And so, it's very disappointing, but he did get his chance. He cannot say, oh, they never hired me. Okay, when the flag went chili verde, or green in plain simple English, Sergio Perez was in the lead, followed by Leclerc and Max. When Max passed Leclerc for the second time, we all expected a Rob Smedley symphony, or Max hunting down his teammate to claim his birthright of winning races and championships. But he and Papa Jos were surprised that Checo was muy habanero. Perez was smart and fast enough to keep Max out of the DRS range, and I think that was very impressive, especially on a street course where it's easy to make mistakes. Despite his Pirelli doing a besame mucho with the Baku wall, Perez was able to carry on to second win of the season and second at Baku. And he's the first driver to win here more than once. And apparently Sergio Perez, I have not checked on this, but it's reported everywhere, so it must be true, that he has won the last 5 street races. So that's very, very impressive.
I think he's very impressive on the street circuits. Now, he does struggle in some circuits where Max totally dominates, and some of those are going to be coming up. So I think everything's going to swing back to Max. But, I mean, Checo is a really good street driver. I mean, you don't win Monaco because you're a super lucky guy and you have a lot of karma. It's very impressive. This guy is really good on street circuits, and it showed that he was much faster than Verstappen in the slow corners. This is his domain, which is good. It gives him an avantage. But let's not forget, Verstappen has had other teammates. Nobody has done this to Max. So Max is, he's having to talk to his therapist a little bit more this week. But yes, Max is going to be up against somebody that's pretty tough. And when we get to Monaco, which is going to be so exciting, especially for Perez, it's going to be fun. I'm telling you, this is exciting for the spectators. And Mexicano and the Hollandais.
The next race is Miami FLA. And that's a street race, and let's see what he can do. And this 1-2 is Red Bull's 25th 1-2. And interestingly, Perez has 6 Grand Prix victories. 5 of them have come on street circuit. And, this was really, I felt very bad for Charles when I heard this. Sergio Perez now has more wins than Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's number 1 driver. And how sad is that for Scuderia Ferrari and the numero uno? Okay, sir, here is our winner talking about after equaling the number of wins so far this season with numero uno.
It means a lot, it's been a weekend where the pressure has been on, where we had to deliver all the team and we've done a tremendous job. So I'm really happy with it, really proud of my team, and an excellent result for the championship. I can only think back of the problems we had in Melbourne. I think without those we should be leading the championship, but for now I cannot think back, I can only think forwards, and I'm only thinking now on Miami.
Checo is now only 6 points behind Max, who leads the championship 93 points to 87.
A little bit unlucky there, I think. But I think after that, of course, I tried to push. I tried to get back into the DRS, and I was close, but I just couldn't get in. And, when you stay a few laps like that, I think tires get a bit too warm. I was really trying to get in, so that doesn't help for the tires. And then after that, I slowly dropped back a bit. And I was actually not entirely happy with how I had the balance of the car. So I was trying a lot of things on the wheel, on the steering wheel, to try and find a better compromise, to feel a bit more comfortable under braking into the corners. And took a few laps to figure out, with a few wall taps here and there. Luckily no punctures, but I think the last 10 laps were quite good again. I felt a lot more comfortable with the balance of the car. So I think overall the weekend was a good lesson.
And as far as Max is concerned, I have to agree with you, whatever the issues are with the car or other technical issues he was reporting, he's going to put this thing together, and I will not be surprised after a few races if he has a 20-plus point lead over Sergio Perez, taking into account both of them finish the races, which I think they will. But when it comes to rain races, I don't think Checo will be in the same zip code as Max. What say you?
What's really exciting is both drivers at Red Bull are very comfortable in this Red Bull, and Checo seems to be getting a little more comfortable. Max gets frustrated if something small is just a little off on the car, where Checo adapts a little bit better. I'm telling you, we got a great season, and we got the GOATs. How could you bitch about this? GOATs, Max, Checo, loving it.
Oh, we have Sacrificial Lamb and Nick de Vries soon?
Very, for sure. We got to get that guy out of here. What's Mick Schumacher doing? Throw him in that car, see what he can do.
Okay, moving on. Ferrari's first podium, courtesy of Leclerc, was the first time this season we did not see Machismo in the top three, on the top three steps, so my condolences to you. Leclerc has 19 pole position, but not many wins from top starting position. But who can blame him? When you have Max Verstappen behind you, race is not going to be a walk in MacArthur Park, because heavy rain is coming down as soon as the race starts. And in this case was lap 3 and sayonara said by Max to... I was really very, very surprised. I mean, cars passed with DRS with ease, but the pace that the Red Bull car had, that was mind-blowing. It was passed with the ease you feel sitting on a beach chair in Sao Paulo, and you can relate to that, right?
Absolutely. That's breezy ease. It's just so wonderful. It's very meditative.
Yes. And of course, in fourth position was the man, hombre himself, Fernando Alonso. This is his first top 5 finish in Baku. He is still third in the championship with 60 points. And more importantly, a dozen more than his 2007 BFF, LCH. Now, this was very interesting, and this is also getting a lot of press. Machismo had some good advice for his teammate during the race regarding brake balance, and I'm surprised you have not brought this up so far. He can be so user-friendly, but this is not the first time he was offering free advice to his teammate. During the 2007, he would often advise the team for his teammate to slow down, especially in the heavy rain in Japan. But unfortunately, you don't remember the season, but some of us do. And I do recall one of the McLarens having a heavy crash at the Fuji circuit. Oopsie, it was not Lewis. Any comment on the braking advice by Nando to Lance?
It's loving, he's trying to nurture him. I'm sure Fernando is getting a large check. So, he's just, helping Papa raise his child to be a good breaker, not a bellyacher.
Somebody made a similar comment saying that every time he gives something positive feedback that Lance can use to improve his performance, Nando gets another bonus check. So who knows what's going on there. But maybe he's on the George Bush, the first program, kindler and gentler. Could it be that way?
And it's the shining light on the hill.
Exactly. And I'm not sure if he has just said, I hope he has not said just no to Taylor Swift. Then he'll be, total package here.
I don't think so. He's not a padre in a convent.
Okay. But, the race is here in Florida. Do you think Miss Taylor Swift will be there to shake it up?
Absolutely. Everybody's going to be there. And not only that, I mean, if you're a Latino from Latin America, España, and you're in Miami, you're with your people.
Yes. Okay, moving forward, fifth, Carlos Sainz Jr. Carlos had such a great first season at Ferrari that he was looking like their numero uno. Now, this season, his best finish was fourth in the season opener in Bahrain. He is fifth in the championship with 34 points. And his name now is also being linked with Audi because Andreas Seidel has gone there, and apparently he was a big fan of Carlito. What do you see his future at Scuderia Ferrari?
I'm not sure. He seems to have lost his mojo a little bit with Ferrari, but sometimes he does so well at Ferrari. But obviously, I think Leclerc is outdriving him, and he seems to be in a funk. Another one of those psychological funks. It's scary. It's like slow COVID. Sometimes you can't get out of it.
Yes. So you think this guy, Frederick Vasseur, should give him a booster shot?
The double booster.
There you go. Okay, sir. 6, your favorite driver of all time, Lewis. His worst finish so far this season, and still a long way to go before hitting home runs, be it Monza Park or Albert Park. His pit stop came on lap 10, just before a safety car was deployed, and so his dishes were done right there and then. He is fourth in the championship with 48 points. James Allison-inspired updates are coming, and we can't wait for Lewis and Machismo chasing the bulls and the horses. Do you think Lewis can finish third in the championship this year, or Machismo for that matter?
Yes, I think Machismo for sure. Are you kidding? He's got an Aston Martin. Lewis, he's going to have some issues, and pretty soon George will be out qualifying him again. Or, you never know, there's some big upgrades coming for the European sector. The Mercedes all of a sudden could look very Red Bull-esque, and all of a sudden it could be fast. And when the big thing they want to copy is that DRS result that Red Bull gets. I mean, it's blowing people's minds. It blows Leclerc's mind, LCH. Everybody's saying, it's so fast. So it's going to be interesting, but the upgrades are coming. So LCH still might get to race with Max side to side.
That will be very, very nice. Okay, moving on, Lance Stroll was 7th, and that gave him 7 points to bring his total tally to 27, placing him 8th in the championship. 8th was Mr. George Russell. He is 7th in the championship with 28 points. And Australia was his only DNF so far, but I do expect podiums from him as the black Mercedes becomes a wee bit faster. I cannot wait to see him and LCH battle when they have a competitive package, and that will only help Max wrap up his third title faster, unless he finds an avocado on the road like Sepp found cucumber. But man, I'll tell you, if Lewis goes 2 seasons without a win, and especially if George Russell wins a race this season, then it's not going to look good for LCH. What say you?
That's true. I mean, LCH is getting old. Every day goes by, and his inspiration is Fernando. So as long as Fernando's there, he's going to be inspired to beat the Machismo. But it's fun to watch, and eventually these guys are going to go fade away and do a lot of fishing, probably hit a couple of nudist camps.
Wow, you got the whole plan worked out for these people.
I try to help the people.
There you go. There you go. 9th was Lando Norris. He picked up 2 points and is now 9th in the championship with 10 points. 8 of these points came from a 6th place finish in Australia. Lando in Arabia was pointless, did not score in the opening 2 races. 10th was our man, Yuki Tsunoda. Like LCH, he also made a pit stop before safety car, but then fought back to grab the final point for the second race in a row. His 2 points this season puts him 16th in the standings at this time. Now, other notes, Oscar Piastri had the not-so-fresh feeling after the race, the main race, and then missed the post-race media brief. He was the first man outside the points in 11th. Both Alpine drivers, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, failed to score any points in second successive race. At least Ocon made the headlines. What did you make of that, this carambolage that was going on in the pit lane?
Well, the biggest problem is they didn't have good camera. I think they did it on purpose, but they didn't show the chaos on television. But see, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. This is commonplace over here, and one of the most famous ones was at the Cal Bears football game back in the day at Berkeley when the band came out, all the fans came out on the field, and the game wasn't over. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. Here he pulls into the pits, and there are people lighting up cigarettes and popping up a few cans of Coors. He didn't know what to do. Bizarre.
Coors in Azerbaijan?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I'm impressed. Head for the mountains and head for Baku. Okay, sir. Apart from Nick de Vries, only other DNF was Chinese driver Guan Yu Zhou. Williams' Logan Sargent and Alpha Tauri's Nick de Vries are the only 2 drivers who have not scored any points so far this season. In the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull is a runaway steam train, unbeaten so far this season with 187 points. Now this is interesting. Aston Martin is second on 80 points, 60 of these coming from one driver. Who could that be? Machismo. Mercedes is next with 76, then Ferrari on 62, and McLaren on 14 points. And somebody was asking me at the IndyCar race, what's going on with McLaren? I'm like, there is not a series on earth that they are not involved in right now. I don't know if that's the issue, but I think they need to focus on one thing and one thing only, and then get good at it before, going into every which way. What say you, Mr. Rogers?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, they make road cars. They make different model of road cars. They're in every racing league in the world. I mean, they're so spread out, so thin. I mean, pretty soon I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my McLaren blender, toaster, and refrigerator. I don't know. I mean, like you said, they need to focus on F1, the backbone of the McLaren. I mean, what would Bruce McLaren say? What he would go, what in the hell is going on around here? You're absolutely right. They're spread out too thin. I think Zach Brown is at fault a little bit, but on the other hand, that's what happens. You want to get big and all of a sudden it's heavy and it weighs on the shoulders. It's a mess. I don't see them being competitive in Formula One for a few more years until they need to restructure, separate the F1 team from the rest of the riffraff, the ghetto stuff, and send that out to Compton.
Very good idea. Very good idea. Okay, sir, a couple of contract extensions. Baku will remain on the F1 calendar up to and including the 2026 season, when Max will be enjoying his Red Bull with a Ford Fiesta. And Mr. Adrian Newey has also extended his contract with Red Bull, which means that Ferrari will not be able to hire him, and the prancing horses will be suffering.
And don't forget, I know you don't like to talk about money, what happens here at F1 Weekly, but your contract was renewed as well, NASIR.
Oh man, because of the travel, I did not see the FedEx package that came. I can't wait to open up and see all those zeros on the Lincoln Savings check.
Well, there is some freebies in the goodie bag.
That's good. Nice. Thank you so much.
De nada.
Yes, of course. Okay, sir, shall we take a break and come back with MM?
Speaking of breaks, yes, I need to use the water closet. So why don't we take a quick break and we'll be back after these brief messages.
Hi, I'm Myles Rowe, and I'm representing the Palatian studios of F1 Weekly.
Welcome back to F1Weekly.com. Clark Rogers here, your host. In now, as we spin the globe and go around the world with Motorsports Mondial and the king, the Swami himself, NASIR Hamid.
Thank you, sir. And we have a Star is Born coming soon to Formula One. Formula 2 from Baku. Ollie Bierman takes pole. This young Ferrari Jr. is a serious star in the making. He did a Checo in Formula 2, won both the sprint and feature races. A few years ago, he won 2 Formula 4 championships in one season. He is the next biggie from GB. And he's a young kid. He's not 23 years old. So I am very, very impressed by him. And the thing is, last year they put him in Formula 3. He did very well. Now they have put him in Formula 2. Ferrari is treating him like Red Bull treats their driver, but he is coming through. Very, very impressive. Okay, Indy cars, Barber Motorsports Park. Like I said, I was there. What a beautiful track this is. Romain Grosjean took pole position, but had to settle for second behind Flying Kiwi and Penske driver Scott McLaughlin. Indy next, which used to be known as Indy Lights. It was their round 2. Christian Rasmussen from Denmark was the winner, with young talented kid from Portola Valley, Nolan Siegel, was second. Portola Valley being in California, near where you are. Inam Ahmed, an old F1 Weekly friend, was fourth in his second race in the series. And Mr. Rogers is very pleased to say I was able to do some interviews from drivers in this series, including Jagger Jones. He is the grandson of Parnelli Jones, so we'll be putting these interviews in the next few weeks. And I think we're back in the groove of doing a lot of interviews. If all goes well, I will, go to quite a few races, and hopefully we'll have a nice selection of interviews. Now we go to Spa-Francorchamps for World Endurance Championship WEC. Toyota on pole. Penske Porsche unveiled their very colorful Le Mans livery. Top 3 in the race: Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Jose Maria Lopez, aka Pachito, for Toyota. The second Toyota of Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Japanese driver Hirakawa. And third was Pierre Guidi, Italian guy, James Collado, English guy, and the Italian Jesus himself, Antonio Giovinazzi. They were third in a Ferrari. And Robert Kubica finished seventh. So something very interesting, speaking of Ferrari. I think it was last year at Daytona, I met a gentleman, Stefano. He is the managing director for the Lara here in the U.S., based in Indianapolis. And I ran into him at Barber Motorsports Park, and he started talking to me, and we had a nice chat. So he said, come to my trailer, I'll give you my business card. So I walk in there, and guess who's sitting there? Max Pappas. So I had a brief chat with him. And then this guy says to me, if you ever go to the Lara factory in Italy, we can have a tour for you, and you can see all these, different units that design cars for Ferrari. The Vic Ferrari is designed and built by them. The Haas F1 car. And I said, hey, if I go there, can you arrange this for me? He says, absolutely. So one of these days I will have to work something out where we can go and check out the Lara factory. How cool would that be?
Excellent.
And he did serve me espresso, so that was nice, Italian touch. So very, very nice. And you know what? I said to him that my very first Grand Prix, this gentleman is from Monza. He was born and raised in Monza. And so I told him my very first Grand Prix was Monza 1982. And he looked up, he said, well, I was 18 years old. I was also at that race with his father. So, small world, huh?
It is a tiny one.
Yes. Okay, so now Formula W has gone with the wind, so FIA has introduced this new FIA Academy for ladies, which I believe is like a car equivalent to a Formula 4 car. And round one was at Red Bull Ring. There were 3 races, and the winners were race 1, Marta Garcia from Viva España. Race 2, Amna Al-Khabesi from United Arab Emirates. Her papito is also a racing driver. Race 3 was interesting. Marta Garcia won again, and Amna Al-Khabesi finished third behind her sister Hamda Al-Khabesi. So quite a day for Arabian motorsports, and on top of that, Arabian female racers. So kudos to them. Now we go to MotoGP from Jerez de la Frontera. Winner for Ducati was Paisan Pecco Bagnaia. Second was Red Bull KTM rider from South Africa, Brad Binder, and his Aussie teammate Jack Miller was third. This is change of times. The first Japanese bike was private LCR team Honda with Takaki Nakagami. I think it's about time we hear Marc Marquez on team radio going, Moto 2 engine, ah! But he's out of racing for a few races because of injuries. And I would like to see this guy retire. I mean, he's a tremendous talent anyway, but I don't want him to get hurt again and again and again. Okay, sir, in the championship, Bagnaia leads with 87 points. Second is Marco Bezzecchi on 75. Now, Jerez de la Frontera is the track where Senna and Mansell raced to the checkered flag in one of the closest Grand Prix finishes in 1986. This race was sponsored by Tio Pepe, and thanks to the friendly personality of Dr. Miguel, he was able to get me a bottle of Tio Pepe from the lady who was serving us dinner when we were there. I think it was the first season of hybrid engines, and we were able to go to the pre-season testing. And that bottle is a daily reminder for me, I'm looking at it right now, of that great race and rivalry. And there's more. It was at the airport of the southern Spanish city. Dr. Miguel and I had the pleasure of meeting and having a brief chat with Mr. Charlie Whiting, as the host would say. Oh, the memories. Okay, sir, what else? Do we have time now, or where are we?
We have time. Let's continue. It's all about the listeners. They are number one. Oh, thank you, NASIR. The interview with Myles Rowe, a winner, a driver, USF Pro 2000. Bring them on.
Yes, sir. Myles Rowe is sponsored by Penske Entertainment, and this year he is in USF Indy Pro. They keep changing names, but this is just 2 steps from IndyCar racing. Okay, and this year he has done 4 races and won 3 of them. Last year he missed out on the championship in USF Formula 2000 series, took it to the final race and lost it, and these things happen. and he is using all that experience to good use here. And still a long way to go, and there are quite a few talented drivers, but he has done what you call an outstanding job so far. So, and very nice family. I always go and talk to his dad, and we discuss motorsports, and I wish him all the best. So please enjoy this conversation with Mr. Myles Rowe, and the family is from Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, folks, I'm here at Sebring with Sir Win-A-Lot, Mr. Myles Rowe. Myles, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm brilliant, blessed, thankful to be here.
Myles, 3 wins from 4 races in 2023 so far. What's in your Wheaties, young man?
Oh man, a lot of blessings, man. Just a lot of good. I don't know, protein. I don't know. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that create a start to the season like this, and first it resides with all my team members on Paps Racing, Force Indy. Resides within my sponsors, Penske Entertainment. It resides within my family, the support they give me and the love they give me. Resides within my friends, the support and picking me up through times where things are bad. It resides in everyone I interact with that's a friend, and that got me here today.
Great. Speaking of Penske Entertainment, have you sent a smiley to Captain?
Not yet. I just got my suit off, but I'm getting there after this interview, but I'm sure he'll be happy to hear from me very soon.
Absolutely. You have moved to a bigger and more powerful car. It seems like you have taken to it like a duck to water. What are the main differences between the car this season from what you had last year?
The car this season has bigger wings, essentially. So it requires a lot more cornering speed to basically bring the car alive. On top of that, there's a little bit more power behind the wheel and a little bit more tire. The tire's a little bit bigger, but the main difference is the wings. You have to bring the car alive a lot more than in the USF 2000, and if you don't do that, you will be slow. So yeah, it takes a lot of commitment. There's more commitment required out of this car. For example, Sebring Turn 1, it's almost like you just keep giving it more throttle, more speed, and in any other car you'd fly off the track, but in this car it grips more, and the more you throw at it, the more you feel like you underdrove because the more grip you give it. So it's really the wings that are the biggest difference in this car.
And how many days of preseason did you do, and how quickly you adapted to the new car?
We did a few days, maybe about 8 or so. I don't know off the top of my head. But I adapted to the car very quickly off the bat. First day in somewhere in the Midwest, I was top of the sheets for all the Pro 2000s out on track. So yeah, adjusted to the car really fast. I think downforce cars are my kind of cars to drive. They work with my style of driving, and yeah, as we see, it's going well so far.
Now, last season you were the most successful driver in terms of race wins. What were some of the high points for you?
Oh, that's a good question. High points were coming back at St. Petersburg after crashing out in the first race. Another good one was winning the home race for my family. A lot of my family are from Alabama, so we won the race in Barber, making it 2 back-to-back wins. I love the city, so Toronto was amazing to win. And then even though Portland was a fright fest for me, I really did enjoy the last race, and I think it really made me grow a lot. So I was really happy with that.
Well, I watched those races. Very disappointing, obviously, to see you not win the championship. What's your take on the first 2 races?
In Portland? Yeah, the first 2 races were bizarre. The first one, my teammate almost got knocked out. And then I was pushed wide into the marbles and had to take it from there and drop back a lot, really far down the order, but managed to get another position back, and unfortunately not enough to win the championship. But second race accidentally hit my teammate just like the guy in the first and the last race did, so that took us out of contention for valuable points. But my thoughts on it were it's just racing, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we're driving these cars, making decisions split seconds at a time. So, sometimes things happen. You do something enough, something will happen. So, it was just one of those days, unfortunately, at the wrong time. But you take it what it is. You learn from it and move on. And I don't think that'll ever happen again. Because I grew from it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, this is a very important season for your career, as the next step is Indy Lights, the final frontier before IndyCar racing. Who do you think will be your main challengers for the championship this season?
Oh man, everybody in this championship is really, really good. I mean, I might have went through out of the 4 races, but I mean, there's a lot of people who I'm looking at who could possibly win this thing. I mean, for instance, Kiko, who was really close last year, Kiko Porto can win it. Liam Zindelli, he can win it. Francesco Pizzi, he can win it. My teammate Jace Denmark, Jordan Missick, they can win it. I don't know why Christian Brooks wasn't racing, but at first I thought he could win it if he was here in Sebring. And he still can if he comes back for the rest of the season. He's a good driver. I mean, all of these guys are good. And there's so many more that I haven't listed, but at least 10 of these drivers can win this championship this year. It's just a matter of who's the most consistent and, you know, who picks their spots the best.
Okay. Now, you had a change of love from golf to racing. Who was the influencer?
That's a really good question. A mixture of Lewis
I have good sources.
A mixture of Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso on TV. Speed racer. Yeah. Seeing the cars on TV, just seeing the kind of lifestyle they had, the things they were doing in those cars, it's something that attracted me a little bit more than golf did. As we see, it's
okay.
paying off.
Last question. Who will get this first? Lewis Hamilton, championship number 8, Alonso number 3? This is my favorite question of the season.
Well,
not this year, but
it depends. Are they in an equal car? Are they in the same car?
Well, that's what Alonso once said in a press conference. He wants equal engines. But let's just say throughout their remaining career, who's going to win the championship first, Lewis or Alonso?
That's a good question. I think Lewis would, because I don't know. I just have a feeling, one of those gut feelings. I feel like Lewis would. Lewis could take it. I feel like it'd be a fist fight to the end. That's for sure. But maybe Alonso might get more penalties than Lewis in the season.
Okay, and they will get reversed. Yeah. Okay, any message for our listeners, sir?
Enjoy life. Remember the good things. Call your mom and dad.
Thank you very much.
Myles, thanks for joining F1Weekly.com. Back to you, NASIR.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. Now we come to famous last words. Looks like Bernie Ecclestone has gotten hold of Gunther Steiner's book and jumped on the Take the Mickey Out of Mick Schumacher bandwagon. According to Mr. E, Mick does have the full support of his mother, Corinna, and his father's manager, lady by the name of Sabine Kame. Then he continues, and I quote, "They're not the kind of people who can help him. They can help him in many things, but not for a career as a Formula One driver. He has to forget this dream, because sooner or later we all wake up from a dream." End quote. Steiner and now Bernie. I say, what a nightmare for Mick Schumacher. Mr. Rogers, do you have a Kleenex for Mick, or do you also want to rip a new one for him?
Well, it's such a sad state of affairs because of the condition of his papa. We are also deeply moved by the whole family situation. And it's tough on all of us, and especially Mick. I mean, I feel sorry for him too, but the only thing I don't understand, but I love, is Toto Wolff is a really nice guy deep down inside. I mean, he kept Nick DeVries next to him for years. And then because he thought he was really a super talented guy, he believed in Nick DeVries, and we know where we are with that.
One thing I'll say about Toto Wolff, okay, I've never met the gentleman, and some years ago I was at the Austin track, COTA, and in the paddock he was approached by all sorts of different people, young, old, whatever, asking for autograph pictures, and you can see how people deal with people and get an idea of what kind of character they have. I was very impressed, and humble how big he is and how he was dealing and talking to people. It was very impressive.
Yes, he has very good manners, good upbringing. He's a nice guy. He's extremely wealthy, but he stays very well grounded, and he's trying to help Mick Schumacher. But I'm afraid, there's a little truth to what Bernie says. The problem is Bernie's very blunt, the old world style. In other words, you're fired. You got no talent, kid. Go back to school. Toto is more of a loving, hugging thing. I hope you do well, but we'll see what happens. I mean, Mick doesn't have to worry too much about his future. I would have come out with a different name. He should have came out Bob Newhart, something different.
Well, in his karting days, he was using his mom's family name, Betch. I don't know if you remember that, Michael Betch.
I do remember that, and I thought that was a wise thing to do. They should have kept it up, but it's done. It's out of the bag. But I just don't see Mick Schumacher becoming a future Max.
Yes, speaking of Bernie, about being blunt, once he was asked about a woman in Formula One, and his response was, who's going to give them the chance? Ferrari? So that's Bernie for you. Okay, sir, now we come to Musical Mondial. I think it was a couple of podcasts ago you said we are losing this day and age people regularly from the world of motorsports and Musical Mondial, both things we enjoy very much. And last week, Harry Belafonte passed away. And outside the recording studio, he was also a strong voice in the civil rights movement. And Banana Boat Song was his biggest hit, so we play a little bit of that in his memory. Thank you for listening, and please enjoy.
Thank you. Good night.
Honesty is something we all look for, especially when it comes to auto service. Honest Engines Auto Service Tallahassee is where you'll find it. Since 2005, they've been delivering trusted, dependable service to Florida's capital. Honest Engines is your full-service auto repair center. Bumper to bumper, they have you covered. Honest Engines Auto Repair offers a variety of services: transmission repair, oil change service, and much, much more. Don't let just anyone work on your car. Bring it to Honest Engines. They'll give your baby the care it deserves. They work closely with you to make sure you know what's being done. With Honest Engines, you don't have to guess what their team is doing. Their highly experienced and certified technicians know just what your car needs, and they'll make sure you do too. So if you're in the Tallahassee area and you need auto repairs, give Honest Engines a call, 850-421-8461, and tell them F1Weekly.com sent you. Honest Engines Auto Repair, right on the corner, right on the price, 718 Gay Street, Tallahassee.